Today I'm going to be looking at a real classic, and I do find myself saying that quite a lot at the start of my videos, but I do really mean it this time. Songs don't come much more classic than this one. It's often touted as the greatest song of all time, and I'd find it quite hard to disagree with that statement. The lyrics are fantastic in this song, but I think it's equally strong in terms of the melody and the harmony. And for that reason, I've decided to put together a little instrumental version of my own. And what I'm going to do is, first of all, take you through the basic chords. And then if you just want to strum through a simple version of it, you'll be able to do so. And then I'm going to take you through my arrangement in a bit of detail. But first of all, I'm going to play it for you. So what a song this is, and it's a really fun one to play over instrumentally just because the chords are slightly unusual and it seems to inspire some really interesting ideas. Now, for those of you who don't know about the song, it's written by Jimmy Webb, I think with Glen Campbell in mind, and then Glen Campbell was the first person to record it in 1968, and subsequently it's been covered by zillions of people. And the backing on the original Glen Campbell recording was provided by the Wrecking Crew, this legendary collective of LA session musicians who've played on hundreds of classic records. But I think the guitar solo was played by Glen Campbell himself, and it's this amazing twangy guitar solo. Some debate over exactly what kind of guitar was used on this, and Glen Campbell in an interview said that he just borrowed a bass guitar from Carol Kaye towards the end of the session and just quickly laid down this solo. But exactly what kind of bass guitar, I'm not sure. It doesn't sound like a regular 4-string bass guitar to me, so maybe it was a Fender Bass 6 or some kind of baritone guitar. Lots of opinions on the internet about this, but no definitive answer that I can find. But for my version, I'm not using a baritone guitar, I'm kind of doing my own thing. And in my arrangement of this, I really just wanted to keep things simple. I mean, the melody and the chords are already so strong that I didn't want to get in the way of that. So I actually played through the song 3 times, so 3 choruses, if you like. In the first chorus, I just stated the melody quite plainly. Then in the second chorus, I did embellish just a little bit and I went up an octave. Then for my third chorus it was a bit more of a guitar solo before I returned to the main melody towards the end. So let's take a look at what's going on, starting with the chords. So if you did just want to play a simple version of this tune, maybe on the acoustic guitar, then this is probably the way I would do it. I'm just going to run you through the basic chords. I will do a little theoretical analysis of this tune in just a moment, but let me just show you the basic chords to start with. Now the tune starts with an F chord, or an F major 7 chord, I think. So you can play that like this. You probably mute the low E string and then have 3, 3, 2, 1, open top string giving you that major 7. So then we've got this beautiful chord here. It's just first finger across the top 5 strings, so I'm not playing the low E string, I'm just nudging into that with the tip of my first finger just to mute it. And what we've got here is a C sus kind of a chord. I suppose if you wanted the official name for that, it would probably be C9 sus 4, but you don't need to worry too much about that. It's just one finger across 5 strings, and the introduction is just going between the F major 7 and that chord. So you could play that with all downstrokes, just an 8th note kind of feel. Or you could play the same rhythm with down and upstrokes. Then we're into the verse of the song, and that starts with this chord, which is a B flat major 7. So from the 5th string we've got fret 1, 3, 2, 3 and then 1. So I'm borrowing with my first finger. Another beautiful sounding chord. Then we're going to, I think, A minor. So you could just play a straight A minor chord. You could make that an A minor 7 chord. Then we're back to that C sus chord. And then the song takes quite an interesting turn. We've got D minor or D minor 7, A minor 7, G, and then D sus 4 to D. So the D minor 7 I would play like this. Open 2, 1, 1. 2 beats on that, 2 beats on A minor 7, 4 beats on G, and then D sus 4, resolving to D. Then we're into what I suppose is the chorus of the song. So I hear you singing in the wire, and for that we've got C add 9 for 2 bars, and I'm playing that 3, 2, open, 3 and 3, but 2 bars of that. And then we've got this descending bass line, so I'm dropping down to the B, open, open, 3 and 3. I suppose this is a kind of G with the B in the bass. And then we drop that bass note one more time to a B flat, the Wichita Lineman. Then we hit D or D sus 4 going to D. And then another great chord, this one here. This is an A7 sus 4. Open, 2, open, 3, and open A7 sus 4. And then it's still on the line. Then we've got B flat major 7 again, going to C add 9, B flat major 7, C sus, and then it goes round again. So the song is just those chords repeated 3 times. So verse, chorus, then there's the guitar solo and chorus, but it's all the same chords just repeated 3 times. So if you did just want to learn the song in quite a simple way, strum it through, sing along, then I think that will be a good way to do it. Now for those of you who are interested, I will just briefly talk about the theory here. And this song has been much debated in terms of the theory, just because the chord progression is quite unusual. And it seems to modulate through a couple of different key centers. There are some unusual chord changes in there, and the whole feeling of the song is quite unresolved. There are lots of these suspended chords, and it never quite goes where you expect it to go. And I think most sheet music versions of this song put it in the key of F. But the interesting thing is, apart from the first few bars of the tune, you've not got an F chord in the song. It kind of starts off establishing that F key center, then it quite quickly moves away, never to come back again. So if we're thinking about this in the key of F, then we're on the 1 chord to start with, and then we've got this C sus, which is a kind of substitute for a dominant 5 chord. It has that same kind of effect. So it's a 5 chord there, 1. And then at the start of the verse, we're going to the B flat major 7. This is the 4 chord in the key of F. So, and then if we're going to A minor, that's the 3 chord. And then we've got the 5 chord again, this sus chord. And this is where the song takes quite an interesting turn. We've got D minor 7, A minor 7, G, and then D. It feels like we're modulating here. We're going towards D, and then for the rest of the verse we're in the key of D major. And we start off D minor 7, A minor 7. Both of those are in the key of F major, but then we've got G going to D major. It seems to set up a new home chord. And one way of thinking about the theory here is it's quite a similar effect to modal interchange. When people talk about modal interchange, most often they're talking about the major key and then the parallel minor key. So if you're writing a song in F major, you can throw in some chords from the key of F minor just to spice things up a little bit. And if you think about it, the key of D minor is the relative minor key to F major, and you can just then flip the quality from minor, D minor, make it major, and it's quite an interesting but acceptable sound to the ear. So I kind of think that's what's going on here. You've got the key of D major, which is the relative minor key, but you've flipped it to the major key. Then in terms of the theory for the rest of the chord progression, we've got this descending bass line thing going on, starting on the C add 9. Takes us back to D again. So the C chord, or the C add 9, that's the flat 7 chord in relation to D, so that gives it that kind of mixolydian sound, I suppose. That's how I'm hearing it. And then we've got this chord here. As I say, the best way to think about that is a G with a B in the bass, and then this is really a G minor chord. You've got the B flat in there. It's that classic kind of subdominant major to minor sound, a very commonly used sound in songwriting, and that's what's going on here. It's kind of disguised a little bit because you've got the third in the bass here, but that's the emotional effect of this. So going from the C and then G major to minor, and then we're kind of home to D, if D is the sort of temporary home chord at this point in the tune, and we've in fact still got the A in the bass, so the bass line just goes straight down. Then we've got the A7 sus 4 chord, and then we hit the B flat major 7 going to C. You can kind of expect it to go back to D there, but it doesn't. It kind of goes back round for another verse starting on the B flat major 7. No idea if Jimmy Webb was thinking about this stuff when he was writing the song. Almost certainly he wasn't thinking about this stuff, but if you do want a bit of a theoretical analysis of what's going on, that's one perspective on it. For those of you who want a little bit more detail, there will be a tab available on my Patreon page. Pay what you like and get access to that. But I'm just going to run you through my basic approach without describing every single lick and every single note in maximum detail. Now, for the introduction, if you remember, the chords were these. We had F major 7 going to this C sus 4 kind of a sound, and for my lead guitar part I was just playing some little 3-note triad shapes on strings 2, 3 and 4. So I started off with this shape, which on the surface of it looks like an A minor triad. I suppose it is an A minor triad, but what I'm using that triad for is to give me the higher extensions in an F major 7th chord, and that's one of the useful things. One of the great things about triads is when you become more advanced, you're not always just using triads as straight major and minor sounds. You can use those notes to access higher extensions of other chords. So in this case we've got an A minor triad shape, which is giving me the 3, 5 and 7 of an F major 7 chord, and you can kind of see this visually on the fretboard here. If you play this shape, it's frets 8, 10, 9, and 10, you've got that A minor triad shape living within this F major 7 chord. So it's one kind of useful way of using this little minor chord shape. So I was playing that, and then I was going to this shape. So playing this over the C bass note. So this is frets 12, 10 and 8. Nice sound with that C in the bass. I'm kind of letting the bass take care of that bass note. I'm not actually playing it, I'm just playing this little 3-note shape. And then I'm doing a similar thing. It's another A minor triad shape, but played over the F bass note. So giving me that F major 7 sound, then coming down here. So this is a B flat major triad shape, but put it on top of a C bass note, and you've got that sus chord sound. So that was my little introduction. Then we're into the first verse, and as I've already said, I wanted to keep it quite simple, so I'm really just playing the melody, maybe just throwing in the odd chord in between those melodic phrases. So it starts off like this. It's the first phrase, and then I just had just some little chords in between. So it's more of this same idea. So I'm playing a minor triad over a bass note to give me that major 7th sound. So I've got 7, 7 and 6, which is a D minor triad, but using it to give me a B flat major 7 sound. Coming to this triad, C triad, over an A bass note gives me an A minor 7. So, and then we've got the next melodic bit. And then on that last melody note, I'm just falling into the C sus sound, and then the melody for the next bit, lots of C there, so simple melody, and I'm just filling out that melody by throwing in some chords underneath those melody notes. So the chords that we've got here, it's D minor going to A minor, so I'm just throwing in the root and the flat third of the D minor underneath the melody note. And the same thing here, throwing in a bit of an A minor chord beneath the melody. And then a kind of soul R&B kind of idea here. So 7th fret on the middle string, just hammering down onto this B. The end of that phrase, just D sus 4 to D, so 7, 7 and 8 going to D major. For the next bit, I'm just playing the melody very plainly. So throwing some C major in the gap there. It continues. There I've got that major to minor sound, so just using triads here, G major, and then very simply just playing the melody. Some more chords in the gap, so I'm just playing D to this A7 sus 4. And then for the last bit, I've got a little bend there, 2nd fret on the D string, and that's taking us to the B flat major 7, C add 9. Then for verse 2, I'm just trying to develop things a little bit. It starts off in a similar way. A bit of a variation in the melody there. I've got that high D note in there. Just some 6 on the A and G strings. Here I'm going up an octave. So I found the melody note here on the G, the B and E strings, so you get this nice, quite close harmony sound. And then, so you've got that C note on top, but I've got the F going down to the E on the third string. And here the melody is on the top string, but I've got this G and this D underneath. And then for the overload line, I'm just doing a little bend here at the 14th fret on the G. And a little twangy bit down at this end of the neck. Then back to the melody, and I'm playing it in thirds, so thirds on the B and G strings. That's that major to minor sound once again, so G, G minor, and we've got Wichita Lineman, just playing the melody. And I'm just continuing on down a kind of arpeggio here, so hitting that A7 sus4. This time I'm playing it as a bar chord at the 5th fret, so barring at the 5th fret, then I've got 7 on the A, 7 on the G. Then I'm coming up to this high D, playing that kind of Morse code riff that you can hear on the original recording. Then for the third chorus, my approach was a little bit freer, and it was a bit more of a guitar solo, I suppose. It started off just coming out of this Morse code kind of a bit. Something along those lines. So really just a D blues lick, just thinking D minor pentatonic. Got a little bit of the melody there. So I do like these quite close intervals. So I'm starting with a kind of unison here. And then coming down on the third string, holding this G on the B string. So more of this kind of thing here. So I love these kind of major and minor second intervals. So here I've got a G and an A. And then, so starting off with this on the third and fourth strings, and then over onto the fourth and fifth strings. So it sounds quite dissonant out of context. I suppose it is a little bit dissonant, but I do like the way that kind of thing sounds in context with the bass and with the acoustic guitars. And I ended with some kind of twangy thing down on the low E string, so some sixths there. And then I decided to go back to the main melody, but I was playing it with octaves, so octaves on the A and G strings. So just sliding those octave shapes around. G minor triad. And A7 sus4 as before. And then back to the Morse code kind of stuff to finish. So that's roughly speaking my approach. It's totally up to you what you do with this information. If you like it, you can learn this thing note for note, but you might just like to take elements from this. You could simplify things, you could make things more complicated. If some of this is a bit too technical, you could literally just play that melody. It's such a beautiful melody that it will stand up if you just play it kind of very plain and unadorned. Or you could go in the other direction and you could start throwing in lots of interesting inversions and playing things in different octaves and thirds, sixths, triads, all kinds of options with this one. So just have some fun with it and see what happens. Let me go through the gear that I'm using in this video, and I thought I would give the Trent Model 1 a bit of an outing today, and it works really well in this kind of clean toned context. It's got a very pure sound, it kind of chimes really nicely, and it's got two P90s here. I've actually got the pickup selector in the middle position, so both of these pickups on at the same time. I've got the volume and tone control on full. As far as amplification goes, I'm using my Fender Princeton. The tremolo you can hear is coming from the amp. I've got a bit of spring reverb coming from the amp as well, though I might add a bit of extra reverb inside the computer when I mix the audio to this video. I'm using one pedal today, and that's a compressor. This is the Cali 76 from Origin Effects. I do like a little bit of compression on a clean sound, but you do have to be a little bit careful. Sometimes it's the nature of compression that it does remove dynamics from the sound, and you don't want all of the life to be sucked out of your guitar sound. So I'm being fairly conservative with the settings on this pedal. And one of the nice things about this pedal is it's got a wet-dry control, so you can get that kind of parallel compression effect where you're just blending in the amount of compression, mixing it in with the clean guitar sound. Then I hope the compression isn't too obvious. That's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. As usual, tab and my own backing track will be available on the Patreon page. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.